What is up, everybody? I am Steve SVU, and welcome to week 1 of the LVL Draft League. My opponent this week is Alazen, owner of Time for Tepig, and let's get right into the team analysis. Alazen's team is generally very scary for my team, with his Hawlucha being able to get an Unburden boost from Rillaboom, as well as Rillaboom being a massive threat in of itself. Blaziken is able to run Speed Boost in this league, so that is definitely something I need to watch out for. And Ting-Lu is able to potentially set up a lot of hazards against me and chip down a good portion of my team. Iron Crown is one of his Terra captains this week, as well as Hawlucha, so I must look out for those, as Iron Crown can be incredibly bulky with Terra. Primarina is able to be ran with either an Assault Vest or even a Choice Scarf or a Choice Specs, so that is 100% something that I need to watch out for. And Mandibuzz is generally in a very annoying wall that I always need to look out for. Regieleki allows him to potentially get Rapid Spins off on my very hazard-reliant team. And then Masquerain is able to set up Sticky Webs, which can generally annoy a good portion of my team. And finally, Hisuian Zoroark is the last possible Pokemon that I genuinely think will come this week. And I must always look out for that, as Hisuian Zoroark can do a lot of shenanigans with Illusion and picking off a large amount of Pokemon on my team with a Choice Specs. But to start off my team, I decided to bring GHOLDENGO. With a Choice Scarf, I'm able to outspeed just about anything on his team outside of Unburden boosted Hawlucha or his own Choice Scarfers. However, I am also deciding to bring him mainly with HP and special attack investment. With Make It Rain, I'm able to hit a lot of his team very hard, as well as Hex, allowing me to hit a good portion of his team really hard if they are toxic. Recover allows me to keep myself healthy, and Trick allows me to get rid of my Choice Scarfs and potentially hit a Ting-Lu with it, or even a Rillaboom that doesn't want to have a Choice Scarf, or it can ruin a good portion of his sweepers like Hawlucha or even Blaziken trying to set up on me. But what is GHOLDENGO without his best friend, Gliscor, to set up the hazards? With Earthquake and Knockoff, I'm able to do really well into majority of his team. However, that is not where this guy shines this week. He's able to spread hazard really well with Spikes, as well as Toxic being able to weaken a lot of his threats that want to switch in against Gliscor, such as Blaziken or even Ting-Lu. And Toxic or Poison Heal allows me to keep myself genuinely really healthy with max HP, 200 defense, Impish Nature. As with that investment, just about nothing on his team outside of special attackers is able to really threaten me. But with all this bulk, I really thought I needed a little bit more offense, so that's why I decided to bring one of my Terra captains, Gallade. I'm running Gallade with Sacred Sword, Psycho Cut, Leaf Blade, and Agility. With an Agility, I'm able to outspeed a large portion of his threats, especially with 200 speed investment and a Jolly Nature. The only things I am not able to outspeed are Regieleki with a Rapid Spin boost, or even Blaziken if it has too many speed boosts up. Sacred Sword and Psycho Cut hit everything on his team for at least neutral damage, and Leaf Blade allows me to get a really good answer into Primarina, as I do believe that Primarina is one of the best counters to Gallade. And a case of Berry allows me to eat one Shadow Ball from Hisuian Zoroark, and I am able to possibly get a prediction on it. And next up, right after Gallade, I decided to bring in Tentacruel. Tentacruel allows me to be able to live just about any one of his special hits, as a lot of his threats, like Primarina, do not hit this thing very hard outside of coverage from Psychic or Psyshock. And with 124 special defense, I'm able to live at least 2 of just about any sort of move outside of offensive Regieleki. Gunk Shot allows me to hit a lot of his mons for super effective damage, and Flip Turn allows me to get really good momentum off on Ting-Lu or even Blaziken. Rapid Spin lets me be able to spin away any hazards he tries to set up with Ting-Lu, and Toxic Spikes allows me to potentially get poisons off on a lot of his team, so then GHOLDENGO with his Hex can do a lot of damage. And next up, I thought I really needed something both for that Primarina as well as Ting-Lu, as well as a more so defensive check into Rillaboom, so that's why I decided to go with Physically Defensive Arboliva. With a Citrus Berry, I'm able to stay in on a large portion of his team and get off really strong Giga Drains, Earth Powers, and Alluring Voices, depending on who is in against me. And with Strength Sap, I'm able to both weaken his physical attacking threats that might want to hit me with a U-turn, for example, Rillaboom, and weaken them in return. or even Blaziken, who is able to offensively check me, and if I catch him on the switch, I can decrease his attack and get Earth Power right afterwards. And a Citrus Berry with Harvest allows me to get good general healing throughout the entire battle. And then finally, I decided that I really needed a good offensive pressure Pokemon. So that is why I decided to go with Choice Specs Greninja. With Water Shuriken giving me priority, I'm able to hit Hawlucha really hard if he is already set up. Grass Knot allows me to hit Ting-Lu for super effective damage that does 120 base power because of his weight stat. Ice Beam allows me to hit Rillaboom incredibly hard, and U-Turn allows me to generally pivot around more of his offensive threats. And that is it for week 1 of the LVL Draft League. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and sub if you don't want to miss any more of my Draft League content, and I will see you guys in the battle. Welcome back to the battle, guys. I'm really sorry to say, but sadly I lost the footage of the actual battle. So instead, I am going to be playing the replay and giving my post-battle commentary instead. I am very sorry. Hopefully I got it fixed out for next time. So hopefully then we can just do the normal battle like we always do. But anyways, with this lead, I was sort of expecting him to lead either Ting-Lu or potentially reading my lead with his Primarina, as I think that he is going to think that I am going to lead Gliscor. So what I instead decide to do is I lead Tentacruel. Tentacruel basically just allows me to counter both Ting-Lu as well as Primarina, as if I am in on Ting-Lu, I can flip turn out if I need to, and being Tentacruel in on Primarina is really good because I could potentially get off a Gunk Shot, which sadly does end up missing, as I get hit very hard by a Psychic. It's really unfortunate, as Gunk Shot would have done really solid damage into Primarina. That's one of the main reasons why I decided to go with Physical Tentacruel this week, was to be able to better counter Assault Vest Primarina, as well as hitting Rillaboom really hard. So it really sucks that he was kind of neutralized in that fashion. But what I decided to end up doing instead next is I set up a Toxic Spikes. So basically the reason I decided to do that is because he has no grounded poison type on his team. He has no form of Rapid Spin outside of Regieleki, who gets hard walled by Goldengo as well as Gliscor. So I think that Toxic Spike is going to stay up for a while. And him switching into Ting-Lu is very good, because that means I am able to flip turn out, do a little bit of damage, and then go into my Arboliva. Arboliva is generally very solid for me, as with my Harvest set, I am able to wall pretty much all forms of Ting-Lu, get off a Strength Sap to weaken him, or even Giga Drain just to do some solid damage. And he decides to get Rocks Up in my face as I flip turn, and now he switches into Regieleki, while I Strength Sap. And the main reason is because I was sort of expecting him to go Blaziken here, but him going for Regieleki makes a lot of sense. He wants to get rid of that Toxic Spike, so I decide that I end up going into my own Goldengo, as I want to block his Rapid Spin. However, he just ends up setting up Light Screen, as he just slowly gets chipped down by Poison. He then goes for Volt Switch, which does a solid amount of damage, and I'm keeping an eye on those damage rolls, because that will be needed for later. And then as I decide to do that, I decide to trick my Choice Scarf onto his Blaziken. The main reason I decided to do this was because if I could trick the Choice Scarf onto Regieleki, I see he's a defensive screen set, as I ran the calcs, and he was minimal special attack investment, as he only did 31% to Goldengo. But it is really good that I'm able to trick on the Choice Scarf onto Blaziken, mainly because now he's not able to set up Sword Stance in my face, and he's likely only running his stab moves. And here I decide to switch in Gliscor, as this essentially hard walls most forms. However, I do get knocked off, so no more Toxic Orb healing for me, which is really unfortunate. But now I am able to potentially get off some hazards and just end up sacking this later on. He decides to bring in Hawlucha, as that does some solid damage, and he tries to set up in my face. But little does he know, I have something that is able to take him on if he is weakened, and Gliscor is always able to live at least one hit from most forms of Hawlucha here, as I just keep setting hazards up. And the closer he gets chipped down, I'm able to revenge kill him with Greninja with Choice Spec, so I'm just planning on sacking Gliscor here, as he just goes for Throat Chop, probably expecting me to switch into Goldengo just in case. But now he is well within range of a Water Shuriken from Greninja here. But he decides to switch into Rillaboom, which is a good play, predicting the Water Shuriken there. And since I am, in fact, Specs, that doesn't do too much damage, because it's a resisted move, but it still does a fairly good amount with only 3 hits. I get a little bit of healing off with the grassy terrain, and I decide to switch into Arboliva, as it pretty much always walls any form of hit from it. Grassy Glide does not do enough to indicate that he is banded, so I decide that I just try to stay in on it and get Strength Sap if need be. I take a solid amount from U-turn, but I heal off my Citrus Berry as he goes into his own Blaziken. I end up going for Alluring Voice, as the main reason is I didn't want him to switch in Hawlucha, though in hindsight I definitely could have switched in doing Strength Sap instead, as Strength Sap is generally better into most things on his team. I guess one of the main reasons I didn't want to do it is he can sort of expect that I won't go for a grass type move, and he could potentially go into Primarina. And Primarina being able to be in on me can do pretty solid damage, as I am not an Assault Vest this week. And Ice Beam does a solid chunk, and I don't really want to play the switch game with Primarina, especially with Goldengo or even Tentacruel. But in hindsight, I definitely should have gone for Strength Sap. But a little bit of damage off on Blaziken is good, as I switch into Tentacruel, expecting to sack it. And I do fairly well generally. I try to just go for Rapid Spin if he tries to switch out. It's good for me, but he's just going to end up taking the kill here, as the recoil and the poison combine to take out his Blaziken. And with his Hawlucha and Blaziken either dead or very low, just about nothing on his team does that well into me right now. He gets the Grassy Seed boost, but Throat Chop does not do enough to my bulky Goldengo, as I kill with Hex. However here, now I am at 33%, and he decides to send in Regieleki. This is where those ranges really mattered, as I was calcing for a solid 2 minutes trying to see just how likely it was that he was any sort of investment on his special attack at all, and he potentially minimum rolled. If he had any form of special attack investment, this Regieleki almost always killed me here. However, if he was the set that I was expecting him to be, which is the more bulky Rapid Spin and Screen Setter set, then he had a 12% chance to kill here. I decided to take that risk, as I didn't want him spinning away my hazards. And it ended up working out, living at 2 HP, allowing me to not only be able to continue living and recover, but also it forces him to go into his Ting Lu to get a poison off, as well as a bunch of hazard chip. And now I don't really want to take an Earthquake, so I send in Arboliva right back in, as now both of his bulky sweepers don't really like taking anything from me, aside from Rillaboom. However, now that I know that it's not banded, I'm not as worried about it. He decides to go for a Memento, which is very, very good for him. It's really good momentum for him, allowing him to send in Primarina, as he generally does think that I'm going to switch here, which I do plan on doing. However, I just switch into Goldengo, who takes very minimal damage from just about anything he wants to do, and I can just click Hex right afterwards, or even a Recover right after, as he just goes for Surf, does solid damage, as I just try to take him into range of Hex. But he ends up going into Rillaboom, which even gives me even more HP back, as I just continue to recover stall him a little bit. as he slowly just gets weakened by toxic spikes. I end up getting knocked off, so my boots are gone, which is really unfortunate. However, I'm not really thinking that I'm going to be switching around much anymore, so this is very fine for me. I eat a wood hammer that's even boosted by grassy terrain, as I just go for another recover, so now I am full HP against his Regieleki. Now that I know that he can't really do anything to me, as I suspect that he is the light screen set, I didn't want him to get too set up, so I just decided to switch in Gallade, as I just wanted to give it a little bit of time in the sun mainly. And now I just set up an agility as he goes for rapid spin, but it's a little too late now. I am now able to outspeed his Primarina for sure, and I'm able to live any sort of hit. And even after reflect, it's not even going to matter, because I am a Gallade with sharpness, and he is a Primarina at 50% HP. So now I just leave Glade, and I get the KO. Thank you all so much for tuning in this week. I really appreciate it. Again, I really hope next week I am able to have my OBS all fixed out so that I don't have to worry about this anymore. But anyways, guys, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.